Hey, hello, welcome to another What You Played Q&A show. I'm Matthew, and together with a lot of your help, let's go ahead and answer all of the internet's burning board game questions. The first question we have this month is, if you could get a brand new sequel or expansion to any game, what would you get? Some of my absolute favourite games in the whole world got sequels, and I do mean this when I say it felt really good when I found out it was happening. You know, when I found out that My City was getting a sequel with My Island, and the Roll and Write as well, you know, that was great. My favourite game of all time used to be The Crew Quest for Planet 9. Now it's The Crew Mission Deep Sea. Getting a sequel, it does feel good. And also, you know, when a game that you love gets an expansion, ooh, fresh life being breathed into it. The expansion that I'd really like to get is Dice Miner. Dice Miner is this fantastic filler game that I love so much. You've got this pyramid of a mountain of dice, and you're drafting dice, and you are drafting different set collection values of dice. Essentially, you want runs of runs of dice numbers. You're trying to collect shields to protect from dragons, get coins, this type of stuff. Collect reroll dice, and there's a few special powers that you can have, starting powers. Really, I love the game. I'd love to see an expansion for it. And the expansion could be where the dice score in different ways, even if there's no extra dice, but also an extra I don't know what it would be, an extra mountain or something, or some other way to draft extra dice. New stuff, more of the same. My favourite types of expansions, more of the same. I'd like to see that for Dice Miner. And the sequel that I would like to see more than any other sequel, and I had to think long and hard about this, is a sequel for Viticulture. You know, a game that feels and looks and has the same feeling of Viticulture, the bucolic nature that I love so much about Viticulture, where you're taking cards, doing an engine of stuff, all these type of things are happening, all the Viticulture feeling things, but a completely new game. I'd love that. I don't know what it would entail, but maybe make it about whiskey production, or making gin or something like that. I'd love to see about whiskey production. You know, so it's a very similar type of game, but a complete sequel, all about making whiskey and building up your distillery instead of maybe your vineyard. I'd love to see that. A completely new game that's a Viticulture sequel. That would be, wow, that would be huge news for me. What games would you like to see sequels for, and what games would you like to see expansions for, and what would you like those sequels and expansions to include? Let me know below. But before we get into the next question, we have, of course, the sponsor who, in part, helped make this episode possible. This episode is made possible by not one, but two new releases from North Star Games, Eila and Something Shiny, and Inheritors, both available to pre-order now. Eila and Something Shiny is a story-rich board game for one or more players, set in a mythical world of solving puzzles, traversing perilous mazes, managing precious resources, and overcoming challenges. And Inheritors is a 2 to 4 player open drafting hand management card game where the king's inheritors seek influence among 5 clans, spying on their competitors and tipping the courts in their favour to win their rightful place on the throne. Subterfuge, intrigue, puzzles, sparkly things, it's all available in Eila and Something Shiny and Inheritors, which are both shipping in August and available right now to pre-order on North Star Games website, which you'll find by following the link in this video's description. Let the games begin. The next question I've got for you is, what are the best convention games? So there are multiple types of convention games, games that we play or bring to a board game convention. And I feel it goes into a couple categories. The one category is games that are fantastic at playing a big group of people, you know, fun, raucous convention games where everyone's in a good mood, that type of game. But the other convention game is the big, heavy, 10-hour game that you never get to play with your friends at home. You never get to play on your own, and you need 7 people to play it, and you need them to be all converge on one part of the country so you can all play this epic game. For me, conventions are all playing those fun games with a large player count, or games that work really well with a group of people who've not played it before. You can quickly teach them those type of things. So I got 10, of course. I picked 10 games because I like making lists. And the first one is Fuji Flush. Again, we've spoken about before on this show. Fuji Flush is a wonderful card game where you're trying to get rid of all your cards and you're all banding together. It plays a lot of people. You all band together because if I play a 2 and then someone plays a 3, my 2 goes away and I have to draw a card, so I've not got rid of a card. But if I play a 2 and then the next person plays a 2 and the next person plays a 2, that's a 6. So to beat that, you've got to play a 7. And everyone's like, I'm going to get in on this 2 train, because it means I get to get rid of this low card in my hand. Then immediately you stab them right in the back. Brilliant game. Then we have Ready, Set, Bet. Now, the reason I think this is good is because it's so raucous and exciting and exhilarating game. Ready, Set, Bet, another game I've spoken about quite a lot, so I won't belabor it, but you're bidding. There's a horse race going on in the background and they're rolling dice and these horses are moving and you're doing this real-time betting as you play the game. Plays a lot of people. Literally, you're going to be stood up while you play it, annoying everybody else in the convention around you. Wonderful. The next one is Magical Athlete, a game I would love to get a copy of, but it's just almost impossible without spending hundreds of dollars. Magical Athlete is a racing game that's so stupidly dumb and fun. Every person that's got everyone's got these wacky, ridiculous abilities that all seem unfair. It's hilarious. It's so much fun. If you ever get a chance to play Magical Athlete, if you're at a Dice Tower convention, there is a copy in the Dice Tower library. Try that version. Magical Athlete is just something else, something very special. A great game for conventions I've always found is Don't Mess with Cthulhu. Don't Mess with Cthulhu is a traitory type of game where you have a reason to not trust people immediately. You're trying to find these elder signs in front of you and you get to say, you choose this one. Is this an elder sign? And they show you an elder sign. You go, okay, cool. Because at the start of the round, everybody tells everyone else how many elder signs they have in front of them. But of course, some of those people are lying because they're cultists, they're traitors. You're not a traitor. You're real. You're trying to win. You say, I've got 2 elder signs in front of me. And someone says, well, turn that one over. And you turn it over and it's not an elder sign. And they look at you and go, you liar. And you go, no, the other two, no, please. So you've got a reason to distrust people immediately. It's a brilliant one. The next game is a older Queen game by Dirk Henn, the designer of Alhambra, which no one really talks about anymore, and that's Speculation. It's a stock market game. It plays up to 6 players. It needs at least 3 players, which is why I think for conventions, 6 players is fantastic. But it's a very light-hearted stock and speculation game, which is wacky. And things are going up and going down really fast and furiously, and you're trying to screw over everybody else. Speculation is, it's light, it's easy to learn, it's fun. I think if you get a chance to play Speculation, I know someone who really loves Speculation is the Game Boy Geek. He loves Speculation, so watch his review on that game if you want to know more about it. But Speculation is such a fun stock market commodity game which will have you really excited and really angry all at the same time. Another game I love at conventions is a full 6-player game of Downforce. This is another one where everyone's going to be stood up and really into it and just excited the whole time as you race your cars around. Everyone's betting on the cards and you're trying to, it's not really a racing game, it's more of a betting game. And it's just so much fun at that higher player count. Downforce is an absolute winner at a convention for me. I think as far as classic games go, for me, nothing beats a game of No Thanks. Another convention later on at night when things have just settled down and you want to play another game, you've got quite a few people there to play. You want it to be exciting and fun, but not too heavy or rules overview or anything like that. No Thanks is always an instant winner. In No Thanks, you're bidding on cards, but you're bidding not to take cards most of the time. You don't want cards until so much has been bid on that card that you think, actually, I'll take that one because I get all these chips with that card, which means I'll be able to bid in later rounds not to take other cards. And if you can form runs of cards, it's the lowest card in that run that you actually score points for. So you can end up getting into a position where you've got a really good run of cards, so you can take that higher card, but nobody else wants it, and you get all the chips. Oh, No Thanks is a near perfect game. One game I think works really well at conventions is Lifeboats. If you've never played Lifeboats, you should try it at least once. Lifeboats is a game of trying to get your people safely to the shore. However, there's going to be lots of voting happening in Lifeboats, and the losers of those votes are going to be thrown overboard. Now, that's a sad time for them, but it's good for all the survivors. It's so cutthroat. It's so cutthroat and mean. Know that going in when you play it, but it's the meanest game in town, and it's an absolute fantastic classic. It looks lovely, the components are really nice, these wooden boats, and if you want a game where you can just be really mean, as everyone goes in knowing, okay, that's really know this going in, it's going to be mean. Lifeboats is so much fun. Another card game that I love to play at conventions, but I love to play it all the time, but at conventions is where I always end up playing High Society. High Society is a fantastic card game where you're trying to collect the different cards that get you points. Some of them multiply your points. However, some of them halve your points, or some of them are negative points. So it's a game, again, in kind of like No Thanks, in a way that sometimes you're bidding on things to get them, and sometimes you're bidding on things not to get them. But you've got this hand of cards, and in Reiner Knizia fashion, everyone's got these same values of currency, so you can't make perfect bets because there's different, you can't make perfect bids because there's different currency on the cards, essentially different denominations. So there's a 15,000 card, an 8,000 card, a 4,000 card, and you can do a bit of card counting to know what other people might still have in their hands, but you're also having that twist where all of a sudden everyone is not bidding to take the card, everyone's bidding not to take the card. I love those twists in games. And the final one is another one of my favourite, like, hidden gem games. And I know Monique and Naveen love this one as well, and that's Cursed Court. Cursed Court is it's a bidding game as well, but it's an imperfect bidding game. Essentially, you have a card in between you and the person on your right and the person on your left, which is some information. It's one of the characters that's shown on the board. And then a card gets drawn that everybody has that information. And you're bidding on all these different spots on the board to try and know, because you're trying to bid on what is actually out there. So you go, this person bid that this character, and this character are out. Huh. That means that I know those two characters are out, so do they know that the other character is out, or are they just bluffing? You know, it's got that type of thing about it. And also you're bidding, and your bid takes other people's bids off if you double their bid. And then there's a reveal, but it's quick, light, fun, fast, but one of the best kind of like bidding deduction games, almost, in a way. A lot of bluffing that goes on. Cursed Court is just marvellous. But what are your convention games? Are you one of those gamers that play the big heavy game at a convention, or are you like me, you like the fun, fast little games that play lots of people? What games do you always bring to a convention, and what games are you always looking for at a convention? Let me know. And the final question actually goes along with the last thing we were just talking about, is how do you handle mean board games? Some games, the premise of the game is that it's mean. You are trying to get one over on your opponent. You're trying to undercut your opponent, outbid your opponent, stop something that your opponent was doing. Rather than building up your own thing, you're often trying to be mean and destroy what other people are doing. Now, personally, I'm not the biggest lover of mean games. With the caveat being, if it's a small, light, fun, fast game, then yeah, mean is fine because the experience is short. But if it's a long, big game, I struggle with like a big, long Euro game. That's mean. I don't mind someone stopping me doing what I want to do in a game, but the second the ability is there for them to destroy something that I've already built, especially if it's taken me 4 rounds to build it and then 1 turn to destroy it, even if I have the option to destroy their thing, That I don't enjoy in games, but I have to know about those things going in. I think the biggest way to deal with mean board games for me is the expectation going in. If we this is what I do. Me and Paula play a lot of games. And if we find out a game is mean, like we know it's going to be mean, we will just talk before we play the game and say, hey, just so you know, this is a really mean game and I want you to play as mean as possible and I'll do the same. Because that sets up the expectation for the evening, the play. Obviously, this comes down to play style, it comes down to who you're playing with, it comes down to the convention that you've, kind of like the social ecology of your game group in a way. But for me, mean sometimes really is heartbreaking and I end up not having as good a time. But knowing and going in, that's the key. Obviously, a lot of games are a fight. You know, I'm fighting against you, you're fighting against me, and I don't mind it in those games because the expectation is there. We know we're dueling it out. Any game that's called so-and-so the duel, it's mean, and I know it's going to be mean. But knowing these things going in, having a quick conversation, just saying, hey, this game, by the way, it's super mean. And then it gives everybody, in my opinion, it gives everybody the ability, the acceptance and the fun to be had being as mean as you possibly can. How do you deal with mean games? Do you like them? Do you not like them? Do you have your own little thing that you do? Any social contracts that you kind of like enter into when you get into them? Or do you not think about it? Or do you just want to be as mean as possible? Sneak attack. Let me know all of your answers to this and any of the questions that we've spoken about this month. If you've got any answers that you think, man, I've got a great answer for that, let me know. I'd love to see it. Until next time, everybody, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.